All right, so my headphones, the headphones are literally rubbing up against my beard. Okay, so it's making like this static sound. So I'm gonna hold it like this. So thank you of course for tuning into this video. So I wanted to do another vlog. This vlog is actually like a series of like revealing the Sons of Perdition. So the reason why I'm compelled to do this one today is because, okay, so if any of you have been like subscribed to the channel from the earlier creation of it, of course, you'll see that how I started. I started with the Nag Hammadi, and then of course I've been building on since then. But what I've been looking to do, of course, with this content is actually revisit some of the popular things that people are familiar with when it comes to the Bible, because the majority of people are familiar with the Bible, right? So I've been using that to introduce newer ways, obviously, to look at those writings. And then when it's pertaining to that text specifically, it's been evolved so you can actually see what was really being taught by these particular reminders who were actually teaching an ancient cellular defense, right? So, like, for example, when you think about the situation that happened with what we've been taught to call Adam, what you're dealing with is someone who was created a certain kind of way, and then that way that he was created got infiltrated. You see what I'm saying? So then we have been using terms and identifiers that actually probably have been given to us by the civilization of deception to identify and to name things. And anyone who understands how naming works, it's the maker who leads out in front, and that which is made follow it thereafter. So we have to actually look at that stuff. So that's the reason why now I'm introducing something like a microbiological parallel to the information, because you can't go wrong when you think about the cell. You see what I'm saying? And how everything pretty much is existing under these particular types of principles. So the information that we have that has been distorted by superbugs. And the reason why is because if we're using terms and interpretations that have been provided by the superbug, then no matter what you develop for yourself, they will be able to sustain their existence because they're the ones who provided you the information, right? So then that's the reason why that law that you find in the first 5 books is important, because it does give you some form of an ancient cellular defense in a time where people have become so close to the animal to where it's like hardly distinguishable. Like you can't even distinguish someone from an animal. You're actually even able to look at people and see facial features that actually resemble certain types of stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? And it don't matter what your skin color is. Like you can literally look at them and be like, wow, that actually looks like a baboon. Oh, wow, they actually look like a pig. Or, ooh, wow, they actually look like a bird, or blah, 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 blah. So what ends up happening, like for example in the Lost Book of Inky text, it talks about when they were doing these particular creations and so forth, how when they started procreating and they kept procreating, how it kept reducing them in quality, where they were getting closer and closer and closer to the thing that they were before they actually participated in the experiment. So then they were noticing how they were losing certain qualities like speech, and had becoming more ignorant, if you get what I'm saying. So like for example, the reason why I don't subscribe to like let's see, ancestry type stuff, right, is because if you have two parents, those two parents are actually giving you what, 4 grandparents. You get what I'm saying? And then those particular 4 grandparents are actually giving you a set of something. So it actually keeps doubling and doubling and doubling, to where if you go 20 generations, and if we say a generation is 30 years, then that's 600 years. So you're looking at over 1,048,000 grandparents, so to speak, right? So then when you do this ancestry stuff, they're only able to use 2 of them. So what you're actually doing is assisting them with their genetic library. So you have to look at this stuff as these are super bugs that are on the planet right now. And that's the reason why a lot of people don't know about lambda phages. So these were these ancient types of stuff that existed, and people that would look like me could actually exist like a lambda phage, but you're only taught to look at the skin tone and the race groups and whatever identifier that somebody wants to make up for themselves. So if we bring this to the simplest element of a cell, that's what quantum consciousness is when you're able to you're able to understand something at the simplest level. So we need to actually start reducing stuff to the simplest level of an element and the simplest level of a cell, and then we can make sense of the operation of certain groups and how they move and how they do stuff. And there's a reason why they want to reduce everyone to animal levels and so forth, because that's all about livestock and maintaining the production and the breeding of them. So they're actually injecting them and doing various different things at the animal level, and they're doing it to the people. So what you actually end up doing, of course, is you're contributing toward making sure that that superbug can't be destroyed or eliminated. So like if that's the reason why, like when I look at even my hand, so to speak, and I was looking at it earlier and I was like, wait a minute, my veins and stuff, if we want to call it that, actually look greenish blue. So how is it that I have red blood cells flowing through something that looks greenish blue? So then I was thinking, I was like, wow, that's profound, because if we're actually calling certain cells names that they actually provided to us, because most people haven't even seen a red blood cell other than what you see on an image or on a screen or something like that, television. So then you got to think about the power of naming something, and consciously what that could do is if someone else has provided the name, then they can also create the limitations of what that can do. And red is a low color in the sense of frequency and so forth and so on. You see what I'm saying? Like blues and greens are actually higher on the scale. So if we're going to be identifying with anything, we need to actually take control of the direction of our own DNA, because we're actually giving that control over to the very ones who are literally seeming like they're trying to remove anything that is divine off the planet. And they're trying to do whatever they possibly can to get in the way of the activation, the DNA activations that people are now seeing being made available to them. Like, for example, in my last vlog, so this is interesting here. So, but in my last vlog, of course, I was talking about, what they're doing and so forth, because it might not be, so what I want you to see it as is like, let's look at it like ugly viruses and bad bacteria. So then when you study how bad bacteria and ugly viruses operate, they want to clone themselves in others. So what they do is they look to try to reduce the cell membrane so they can actually enter in and command more production of itself in some kind of way. So then each cell has a receptor on it, and how these virus particles seem to work is they connect like proteins on those receptors, and they're communicating, and then they do something to where they can actually trick that particular cell to allow it in, if you get what I'm saying.
Contact. This is the moment when infection begins. How does infection happen? You see the tiny shapes there on the virus particle's surface? They seem like random blobs. In reality, they are tiny keys, proteins that have evolved to the perfect shape and size, enabling them to unlock these receptors on the surface of this lung cell. Like a smile and a handshake, the virus deceives this lung cell and is welcomed in, where it will command the cell to make more virus particles.
And we can look at that as something that tries to communicate through you, and it's trying to use certain pathways to get you to repeat actually what it's saying. That's the reason why it's important when we have this civilization of deception saying repeat after me type stuff, because it's how it works is you have the maker that is in front and you have that which is made following thereafter. So you're actually relinquishing and actually opening possibly a door to your cells to allow something to get in and to command more of itself now that it's in there. So that's how we have to look at this information that has been left for us, is we have to say, okay, this is ancient cellular defense techniques. Obviously you have many different forms of the same information, and that's the reason why it's like that, because you had these particular teachers or reminders who went to different geographical areas with the same information. However, they worded it or spoke about it in a way that actually made sense to whoever they was talking to in accordance to their environment. So in one area it might be a ram, in another area it might be a lamb. You get what I'm trying to explain? But the core principles of what was being taught is similar. So you have the structure of matter, and then you have genetics and reproduction, and then you have the signs and symbols on how this information was taught to those people based on the geographical area that they're located in. So this way we can stop saying, oh, they don't have the right doctrine, I have the right doctrine, or they don't know what they're doing, we know what we're doing. So you can actually stop doing that, and you can look for the symmetry, or you can look for the actual underlying message that particular information was actually trying to tell you. And when you reduce it to the lowest common denominator, you will find that it was just an ancient cellular defense technique that was trying to help people make sure that they don't become corruptible and they are able to become incorruptible. So in a situation like this, where you have so many superbugs that exist and they have cloned themselves in so many different types of people, that's the reason why this channel is advocating for people to actually send the seed up, as opposed to doing like the animals and casting your seed out into the field, because this is how they're able to build themselves up at a level to where it seems like it's like no matter what you do, they're there. So that's kind of like how a superbug operates, to where it learns, and then certain types of medicines don't work anymore. So that's the reason why I'm promoting this lambda phage type of activity, because what a lambda phage does is it actually enters in, and then it duplicates itself or sends more of itself out there. And if it can create something because something is there, then it does. If not, it destroys it. That's the reason why the text says, if you give birth to that which is within yourself, that which you bring forth will save you. But if you possess nothing within, that you don't have will destroy you. So it's literally talking about the lambda phage. So this is pretty much what we need to be working toward, of course, because we're not in a situation right now to where we can just be going along to get along, because not everything that is walking around with an arms, leg, arms, and a head is actually doing the same purpose of trying to make sure that we don't have superbugs that exist. So that's one of the main reasons why my content is going in a direction that it's going in, and the reason why I even communicate with others the way that I do is primarily because I'm like, okay, well, are you a good cell? Because some cells just carry information and just spread it around. You get them? They're not really solving anything. They're just like spreading information. They're just walking around with backpacks on with information in there, and they're carrying it from one place to another. So, I mean, obviously this information has to be carried, but what we want to look for, of course, is there has to be something within that information or within that carrier that can actually also plant the seed of solution, so we can actually clean up the infection that's happening on the planet today. Because there's an infection and people actually need to see it, and it's better to be able to see it whenever you have that microbiological parallel to all of this information. And it's not really about how many members you can get and all that kind of stuff. even though the word member actually is actually profound, but in the sense of what most people are familiar with in a dogma is not. So then what we're trying to do, of course, is we need to be able to enter into a room and understand what's in that room and how we are contributing. Are we carrying information for the civilization of deception? Are we carrying information for those that are incorruptible because they're trying to allow people to give birth to that which is within them? You get what I'm saying? Because if you have that which is incorruptible within you, then that which you bring forth by sending the seed up will save you. But if you possess nothing within, then that will destroy you. And that's a prime example of that scene that you see in Matrix, and I'll put it up on the screen, where you had so-called Neo entering into that agent. Do you get what I'm saying? And then based on that agent not possessing the quality within itself, then what ended up happening is that it just got destroyed. Do you get what I'm saying? There's a reason why it looked like light in terms of that, what that destruction actually looked like. So that's the reason why I wanted to do this particular vlog, of course, just to kind of show you the direction that I'm going in with this channel, and how if we're going to be participating in information, it has to be to where we're able to reduce it to its lowest common denominator, and we're able to understand or see if the microbiological parallel is there, because it has to be, and then you can understand what part you're playing in this body that we're actually trying to clean up. And then when you're able to do it at the individual level, then you're actually able to have a part to play at these other body levels that actually exist. And if you possess nothing within, then the planet is not going to allow you to remain, because we have the civilization of deception that looks like they have plans. Do you get what I'm saying? That's not going to be allowed to take place, but it's possible that they're being used to carry out a greater plan that they're not included in. So that's what we're talking about. So that's the reason why I wanted to do this particular vlog, of course, just to kind of, if you have any questions or anything, leave them underneath the like button, and I'll be interested to hear if you're able to actually have experiences out here, and you're actually able to see how it's like, wait a minute, that's similar to how this acts, or that's similar how this acts, or how this functions, and so forth. And then you're actually able to make sense of what is happening around you, because the outer is an example of what's going on the inside. And once you actually understand that, then you can take command in the situation a lot better, if you are that fighter cell, if you get what I'm saying. And then if you're not, you have to develop yourself into one. All right, I'll see you in the next one.